Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Whoa! Welcome everybody to Wager Talk Today. I am Lawrence Presman. He is Teddy Covers, and you are watching the best daily sports betting show on the planet. We're called Wager Talk Today. We rock, we roll. And Theodore, who's on today, bro? What are they talking about? And why is Tokyo Brandon again coming on?
He's got EuroLeague basketball to talk about. We're going to talk with Tokyo Brandon right at the top of the show. He's going to talk Maccabi Tel Aviv versus Olympiacos, and I don't know what the heck, Fenerbahce against Lyon Villeurbanne in EuroLeague hoops. Hey, it's bettable, and he beats it. We're happy to break it down with Brandon Siefkin. Steve Merrill's going to join us next with a couple of plays in college hoops. For tonight, he's going to talk about Houston and Central Florida and that awkward Chicago State at Stanford game this evening. My big game breakdown also in college hoops for today. We'll talk some Big Ten action for this evening as Maryland battles at home. And, of course, the presidential address to close out the show. Let's not forget Arthur DiCesare from the Westgate Superbook going to join us as well, break down the betting action from the other side of the counter. So we do have a busy Wednesday show. Let's get right in.
Yes, sir. Before we bring Tokyo Brandon on, and we love Tokyo Brandon, I'll tell you a quick story. Oh, shut up, Tokyo. I don't need you in my ear. I have to put up with you in a few minutes. Anyway, shout out guys who purchased my 5% play yesterday. It meant the world. We had an outstanding sales day. My play was Illinois -4 against Ohio State. The score was closer than the game. I think it came down to a 9-point game, but I mean, we were up by 17 a couple of times in that second half. It was a real easy winner, and I really appreciate the sales. And well, we're going 5% to Teddy's. Teddy Covers has a 5% play up tonight in the NBA. My brother, tell us about it.
Yeah, this one, I mean, I've had this game circled for a couple of days. And the money came right overnight. The injury report came right overnight. It's, of course, on ESPN tonight, Memphis and Golden State. A big game in the 66% over the last almost 2 full years now. The NBA has been great, 129 and 78. I'm 100% perfect across sports this week. We'll see if we can cash the 5% big ticket tonight, Lawrence. Thanks for the promo.
Oh, brother, listen, I'm going to bet your play. I have deep respect for you, and especially in NBA, because you've been extremely consistent in that sport for many years. Guys, real quick story about Tokyo Brandon. So I used to own a website long ago called Who to Bet On. It's how I got into the business. And an old customer of mine texted me. I hadn't heard or seen or spoke to him since, God, I mean, Oscar De La Hoya's last fight. I know as a fact because he invited me to that fight. I was in Vegas, and I waited, and he never showed up, and I missed the fight. But whatever, that's not the story. He texts me. He's like, Prez, I haven't spoke to you in 10 years. Who should I bet at Wager Talk? This is a true story, man. This was yesterday. And I said, if you can bet European, Korean, Japanese basketball or baseball, I would bet Tokyo Brandon. That's a true story, Tokyo. Now, I might think you have shitty taste in music, but that was my number one recommendation, brother. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. You're nicer to me when I'm not around than when I am around. So that's good to hear.
In general, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
That's nice
that works with everybody, dude.
So
Well,
if I'm
at
not
least,
here, you say nice things about me. It's good to know.
yeah, at least
Yeah.
you're not bad mouthing people behind their back. That's the truth of it, you know. And you and I
Yeah,
are both like that,
always to
Prez.
my
No, I,
face,
I don't
which
talk
is
bad
good.
about people behind their back. I talk bad right to their face. You know,
Yeah.
it is what it
Yeah,
is.
I
yeah.
talk good.
I mean,
I talk good about
Yeah,
people behind their back.
yeah, I know.
yeah. And I logged in 2 minutes before the show, and I already got 2 F-bombs at me, so I just shut that up.
Number one all sports handicapper in 2021 and 2022. Jesus, man. 2 years running, number one most profitable handicapper. Let's
Love to
make
hear
it number 3. Tokyo Brandon joining us, everyone. And we're going to start right off the bat with, well,
Yep.
my favorite city in the entire world, Tokyo. I don't know if you know this. I was born in
Tel
Cape
Aviv.
Town, which is the most beautiful city in the world, bar none. I lived in Sydney, Australia for 3 years. Magnificent city. But there is no city that compares to Tel Aviv. And they're
Really?
playing none. And it's not a religious thing. It is
Right.
the greatest city on the planet. If there was only one city to travel to, if you were only allowed one vacation in your whole life, it would be Tel Aviv. They're playing Olympiakos tonight.
Olympiacos, yeah.
Olympiakos. Olympischmakis.
Olympiacos.
The Olympischmakis are -7.5 against Maccabi.
And
Don't get on the show and start dissing Tel Aviv now. I don't know where you're going, but it better be Tel Aviv.
Sorry, I'm taking the Greeks over the Jews here because,
Well, I don't
mainly
think they're
because
Greeks or Jews on either of these teams. Probably is a bunch of Americans, is my guess. But go
actually,
ahead.
actually, the international leagues, they only allow 2 players from foreign countries, so they are actually homegrown
How do the
players for the
woke
most part.
people deal with that, man? That seems very
Yeah,
exclusive. The woke
yeah,
people should be up in arms over that, Tokyo.
it's
I'm going to
discrimination,
shut
I'll
up.
tell you. So, anyways, yeah, Olympiacos is playing really well, but we're getting a good number here because the Tel Aviv guys have beaten them twice in a row, but they haven't beaten them since last November, and things have changed quite a bit. If you look at recent form, and if you look at just overall play, Olympiacos is much, much better than Maccabi Tel Aviv here. I have them -18, so I would lay up to 8.5. And actually, the line was 8.5, and now it's down to 7.5. I don't see any injuries in this, so I'm laying 7.5 with Olympiacos here. Sorry, Tel
Well, I'm
Aviv. I'm sure
looking.
your city is beautiful.
I'm looking at the live odds screen right now, and they're the biggest favorite on the board in Friday's action. And this is I don't know what time it tips off Friday. It probably depends on where you are, obviously. But
Around 11.
when you're talking about, I mean, when it comes to EuroLeague basketball, is this a league where we're comfortable laying points with favorites? Is this a dog? I mean, what? How does what's the nuance of this particular league when it comes to, do we want to lay points with the is it a lay points league or not?
Yeah, skill-wise, this is below college basketball skill level. So these are a lot of players who used to play in college basketball and don't anymore. They used to be in the NBA and scored 2 points a game, and they don't anymore. So you'll find that the good teams are a lot better than the bad teams. So I'm much more comfortable laying points in a league like this than I am in, per se, the NBA or even in college basketball. So yeah, you will notice that a lot of the scores are quite lopsided compared to higher level leagues like the NBA. I'm
Tokyo
comfortable laying
Brandon,
the points.
Tokyo Brandon joining us, everyone. Tokyo, we got the World Baseball Classic on the horizon. You've got a promo for everyone on that. When does it begin? And tell us about the promo.
Yeah, it starts on March 8th, and WagerTalk is doing a special for me, all access for the World Baseball Classic. It's a 12-day tournament, so it's about 2 weeks of picks. If you use WBC 55, you can get my all access for the World Baseball Classic for $55. I used to be a scout for a major league team, so I know a lot of these players. I know a lot of these leagues. I scouted Korea, I scouted Japan, I scouted Australia. So it's good value, and the numbers will be quite soft. So I'm looking forward to this tournament, and the whole tournament from March 8th to March 22nd, all access for $55. WBC 55.
Well, you scouted a lot of things, but have you ever had the Alberta double? People on
No.
Puck Time. People on Puck Time will know what I'm referring to. Dan knows what I'm referring to. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Are we talking about who has the or who is the question again?
Let's just move on. Let's see if I can get this right.
I didn't even get Teddy to
Fenerbahce.
smile there.
Fenerbahce. Is
Yep.
that good? Fenerbahce?
Yes, Fenerbahce. That's correct.
Yeah. I'd like some Fenerbahce on my spaghetti. They're
This is better
playing
than the Chinese one.
Leon Villeurbanne.
Oh, Prez, you're Canadian. I
How
thought
impressive
you would pronounce
am
that
I
better.
as a host? That was terrible. Oh my God. Fire the
East-
Prez.
You're East Canada. I thought you would pronounce that better, but hey, that's all right. I
What?
just call him Leon.
What are you implying here? Firstly, I'm Central Canada, and secondly, what are you implying?
I
That
thought
I'm supposed to
Canadians
know
all had some kind of
French?
French. I thought all
No.
Canadians had some French.
Oh God. Okay, just give us the pick.
You're not from Quebec? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Fenerbahce's taking on Lyon. Just call him Lyon. I've heard you correct people's French pronunciation before on the show, so I thought you had a little French in you, but perhaps not. So Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce's been cashing tickets for me. I've been riding this team a lot lately, and they've been cashing it. I don't know why the books are sliding this team, but this team is the second best team in the league. Their plus-minus advantage is second best in the league, and I'm riding Fenerbahce here. Asvel Lyon is second from the bottom. They're bottom dwellers. Their plus-minus is terrible. Their foreign players are terrible. I have Fenerbahce winning this by at least 12 points. And when I laid it down, it was 4.5. Now it's down to 3.5, and I like that. So I'm taking Fenerbahce minus 3.5 points in this one.
So when it comes to laying road chalk in EuroLeague,
Yes.
you're laying on the highway. Is this a home league? Is this we're comfortable laying points on the road league? Because I'm looking, again, I don't know anything about any of these teams, but there aren't a whole lot of home underdogs on the card in EuroLeague. Is this a scenario where we're very comfortable laying the price with the superior squad even when they're on the highway?
Yes, and that's a good question. That's one of the things I like to look at is how they perform at home and on the road, because as you know, in EuroLeague, when you go on the road, you're going to a different country. So you're going from Turkey to France. So yeah, Lyon is one of the worst home teams in the game. They average 77 points and they allow 80 at home. Whereas Fenerbahce on the road, they're the fourth best road team, where they have a plus points ratio on the road. Not big. It's only 81 to 78, but still, it's big enough for me to lay 3.5 here. They just clobbered them by 22 at home back in December, so I'm pretty comfortable laying the chalk here on the road.
Tokyo Brandon, everybody, brother, what a great job. Again, that promo WBC 55, right?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
$55 for his entire World Baseball Classic. Thank you. Leave.
And I'm going to get out of here so Prez will say nice things about me.
Leave. Teddy Covers. Rumor in the chat room is you told somebody at the meet and greet that you actually enjoy working with me.
I said that, I don't know if that's, did that actually come out of my mouth? I said, I'm used to working with you.
No.
We've done it for a long time together.
You enjoy working with me.
Yeah. Well, it must have been one of those kind of days, Prez.
Okay. Because to me, I try my hardest to make you not enjoy working with me.
I'm well aware.
What did we learn last night, bro?
I learned something last. This is a true story about last night. And again, whenever I'm watching hoops, I usually have multiple games on, but I'm focused on Arkansas LSU. I bet the Hogs minus 12.5. It's 38-14 at halftime. It's a right side winner. No sweat, no muss, no fuss. And then LSU opens the second half on a 15-2 run, and now they're covering, and I'm going absolutely ballistic. There have been at least 3 or 4 games this year in college hoops where I've had big favorites, for the full game, not the first half, and they blew out the team in the first half and then kind of didn't have the same intensity in the second half, and I should have played first half instead. You know, Drake was up by 33, then we were 15. That's one I remember. Certainly not the only one. It made me crazy, Lawrence. It made me absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
LSU had no chance. Arkansas stemmed the run. They played all kinds of defense down the stretch. They scored 22 points in the second half and ended up winning by 20. But that one run at the start of the second half, it was enough to keep me from enjoying any of it. I feel like I have post-traumatic stress. That's what my friend said on the phone. He's like, dude, you have PTSD. This game's a winner. I'm like, no, it isn't. I'm never comfortable in any game, not even late.
Oh, yeah.
You know, every game I feel like there's a bad beat or a tough beat or some kind of a beat waiting to happen. So my favorite play in all of sports is the kneel down in the NFL. The dribble out in hoops is just as good. But do you feel like sometimes you have PTSD just because you've had, like we've suffered through so many beats so many times? I'm never comfortable in any game.
Dude, last night, I'm on my 5% play. It's Illinois -4 against Ohio State. Ohio State comes out to a 9-5 lead. We're at the 18-minute mark. I turned to Vivian. I'm like, it's a loser. I can't watch anymore. I'm sick to my stomach. Dude, I go through every freaking night. Like, I am the most pessimistic sports bettor on the freaking planet, dude. Every game. Ohio State was up by 17 with like 3 minutes to go. And I'm like, Illinois, sorry. With like 3 minutes to go. And I'm like, I can't wait to see this collapse. This is going to be an epic collapse.
Yeah.
That's what's going on with me.
And I'm not a negative person in general. I'm not someone that, oh, this sucks, that sucks. I'm not walking around all day with a giant black cloud over my head. I'm not.
You're delusional. You are the most miserable human being I've ever met in my life. Dude, the reason you don't say that there's a black cloud above your head is because it lives there and you're used to it.
Maybe. Bring in Merril. Because, again, Merril co-hosted with me all week last week. Was I gloomy all week last week, Steve?
Delightful. Teddy was smiling. We never got into it once. That actually is true. Somebody told me it was a Prez free zone. I don't know where that phrase came from. I did not endorse it. But Teddy seemed all right otherwise.
Guys, we got Dwayne Bryant in the chat room. We got Ski in the chat room. Lots of love to those two guys. And Ski mentioned, Teddy, that you were drunk at the meet and greet, which is probably why you said that you enjoy working with me.
Sure, it had to be one of those days. No question about it, Lawrence.
Yeah, Johnny Sharp writes, I have to disagree, Prez. I feel like the most pessimistic bettor of all time. Johnny Sharp, great freaking name, dude. I know it's not real, but either way, great freaking name. Steve Merril, anything to add so far? What do you think about the Maccabi Tel Aviv against whoever they're playing Olympiakos game? -7.5. You got any thoughts?
I thought that was interesting about the different countries. That's actually something really never occurred to me about traveling. You talk about West Coast to East Coast, like for the 49ers, for the Eagles here, but you're talking about international customs. You're talking about different languages. I mean, that's pretty crazy when you think about it. As far as watching games, I think you guys both know I watched less games than I did 20 years ago. Some of that is just a quality of life perspective. And Teddy, I agree with what you're saying. And that's actually why I don't enjoy watching games. I watch enough to get information. I watch enough to have a feel for the teams. And we're going to talk about this here in a little bit when I discuss college hoops. There's 363 Division I basketball teams. You pretty much get point spreads on all of them nowadays. Nobody can watch all those games handicapped. So you need a systematic approach. As you know, Prez, I do the same thing with the financial markets. I'm purely 100% systematic. I do not have an opinion on where Bitcoin is going other than what the price action tells me. And I'll tell you what, it's a much better way to live life. And I think it probably does give you some emotional stress, to be honest.
Okay, Steve, systematic. You're a systematic player because everybody knows what the hell that means. Anyway, Houston -9.5 against Central Florida. The total is 127. Using your systematic approach, how would you handicap this game?
Okay, I'll dumb it down a little bit in case somebody's under third grade and skipped school today and they're watching the show and they don't know what systematic might mean.
Me, Steve.
Come on now.
The idiot.
I think you probably could figure it out. Look, there's different ways to handicap sports, and unlike the markets, systematic means it's quantitative. Everything is automate it. I have a method I use. There's no judgment involved. There's no fundamental in that. Fundamental would be when you're handicapped, you think a stock's going to go up because the CEO is no good, or that they're not going to have good earnings reports. That's fundamental. Systematic is price action, right? You ride momentum. You look at the technicals. Sports, you do the same thing. We have Ralph Michaels come on with a database. He talks about systems. That's systematic. Trends and angles. But Ralph will also tell you that he uses fundamentals, right? He's looking at the coaches. He's looking at the matchups. He's looking at the pace of play. I use both, and that's how I do handicap sports. But I start with the starting point. Those are power ratings. That would be systematic. That'd be a quantitative analysis, numerical. And then you look and see if there's line value. And then you dig into the matchups and you dig into the fundamentals. And one thing I love about college basketball, we'll talk about this Houston Central Florida game, is that the great thing about college hoops, there's so many games on the board. So you got to narrow them down at some point, right? You cannot handicap, like I said, 363 teams. Watch teams. I do focus on some of the bigger conferences because I think you get more quality of play from those. And Houston right now, I think probably is the best team in the country. So when the best team in the country is coming off a loss, that makes my short list. It's something that catches my eye. And then the fact they lost as a 19-point favorite to Rutgers last Sunday, flew under the biggest AP number one loss since back in November of 19, if you remember when Duke lost as a 27-point favorite to Stephen F. Austin. Houston blew a lead against Alabama earlier this year, a 14-point lead. That was their other loss. Very good Alabama team. But what I like here also is these teams played last month, and Central Florida hung and only lost by a few baskets on the road as a 15-point dog. We talk about revenge. Central Florida doesn't have revenge here. Everybody against Houston's going to have revenge because they beat everybody for the most part. Houston's not going to take them for granted because it was a tight game before, and also because they're coming off a bad offensive showing. That makes my short list, and then I look at the numbers, and I think there's line value on top of it. So that's systematic fundamental analysis for you. A little more fundamental in this one, but I like Houston.
So UCF is 9-2 straight up at home this year. I went through the course of their whole season. They've lost exactly one game by double digits all year, anywhere, on any floor. And that's their last time out against USF, something of a rival, certainly. When you have a team that isn't losing by margin, that has a strong home court edge, and you have a team that kind of just had their bubble burst and now they're laying doubles on the highway, is that a red flag for you at all? Or is the situational analysis here point only one way towards the Cougs in this double-digit range?
Yeah, one thing to point out, Teddy, this line, the overnight line early was 7 yesterday on Tuesday, and it quickly went up to 9.5 when I sent it over. Now it's 10. So there's obviously been some line movement here. I'm not saying there's a ton of value. This is not going to make my best bet card. This would be a 1 to 2% opinion play is why I'm using it on the show here. And that is one of my concerns, is that Central Florida is a solid 9-2 at home. They've been very competitive. But you look at their recent opponents, too. They played South Florida on the road, lost by 13 as a 4.5-point favorite. They lost at Tulane before that. When they were home against Memphis, 1.5-point favorite, 9.5-point favorite against SMU. Big difference here being a dog. They've been a good size, medium-sized favorite in almost all their recent home games. So this is a huge step up in class. And I'm willing to give up maybe a little bit of line value, not that the line's gone to 10, with what I really think is a shutdown Houston defense. In fact, right now, if you look at the efficiency rankings, Houston and Tennessee, the top two defenses in the country. I just think this is a really bad matchup for Central Florida tonight. Tony Mejia's Central Florida Golden Knights against Roberts' Houston Cougars.
Steve Merril joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com, one of the best there is. Steve, Chicago State, I was on them a couple of nights ago. They were 0-16 on the road. They were +9, and they won the game outright. Now they're playing Stanford. Good spot for Stanford or no?
Yeah, first, I challenge all the viewers in the live chat. Let's get them active. What's the nickname of Chicago State? Don't look it up. Put it in there, see if anyone gets it, Prez.
Well, I don't know.
Funny.
I bet them all the time.
I was just going to say, didn't want to throw you under the rug, but I was going to say I'd throw you under the bus, but I was like, you probably don't know it either. I don't know it.
But the funny thing is, Steve, a lot of these guys who watch our shows and my friends who talk to me about the fact that I'm a professional sports bettor, they all think we know this stuff. Like, name 5 players on the Houston Cougars. I couldn't name one. None of that stuff is relevant to me when I handicap. I'm what's called a systems handicapper, Steve.
I was just going to say, I was going to say, Teddy, that sounded very systematic to me when you can't name a single player on the team, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. And you're right, Prez. I mean, people throw, hey, name the point guard for Chicago State. I don't give a damn. I'm not going to waste my time learning the name of the point guard for Chicago State. If I read an article, Teddy, and I see he's injured, there again, I make a short list. I know, Teddy, you do a lot with the newspaper research. You get the Teddy quotes, and I do that as well. You do dig in to make sure you're not missing something. And I'll see the point guard's name, and I might remember it for a week or so. But if I don't use them for a couple weeks, I probably won't. And once again, 363 teams. You need to have some kind of filter, systematic filter, if you will, to get your short list every day. It's funny, President, you mentioned that game because I was doing late night with Gabe Morency on Sports Grid yesterday, and he mentioned Chicago State as well. And it got me looking a little deeper at the card, and I saw they played Stanford. I was like, wait, this has to be a typo, right? I mean, look, the WagerTalk live odds screen don't get it wrong often, but I was like, this has to be a typo. This can't be right. They're playing at Stanford. It's a really weird game. And your initial thought would be that Stanford doesn't care about this game. And that was my initial thought. But then I dug a little bit deeper because, once again, when games catch your eye, like number one Houston off a loss or a weird matchup like this, it does make me dig a little bit deeper. And as you said, Chicago State, not a good team. They did just upset Coastal Carolina. They got their second win in 4 games. Their other win was against East West University. I don't think there's a line on that game January 9th, so we won't count that one. And they have a big look ahead, Teddy, to Aurora this weekend. Aurora might not be a line on that game either. So you would think this is a big game for Chicago State. Maybe it is, but it doesn't matter because they're awful. The question is, does Stanford care about this game? And I think they do. This is a Stanford team that has underachieved this season. They're just 7-12. They're just 5-4 at home. They need to get an impressive home win. The students are back. And let's look at the Ken Palm luck rating. And we talked about this a lot last year, with Providence overachieving all season long. I don't use it a lot because it's basically your straight-up win-loss record should be better or worse. And obviously when you're an 18-point favorite here, it doesn't apply. But you got to mention this. Stanford is the second most unlucky team in the country out of 363 this year. So what that tells me is maybe they're a little undervalued. They're having some bad luck. That also tells me they won't overlook a chance to romp a team here. And they've actually stepped up pretty good as a favorite this season. 11-point favorite against Oregon State a couple of home games ago. They won that one by 21. That 24-point favorite in mid-December at home against Wisconsin Green Bay, they won by 45. I think they lay it to them tonight, and this is actually a good spot to fade Chicago State and play Stanford.
So if you like Steve Merrill's analysis, breaking down college hoops, be sure to tune in to Cover It with Teddy Covers this weekend on SiriusXM channel 159. Steve and I will be get a deep dive into college hoops on Saturday's show. Of course, you can always download the podcast version via my Twitter feed at Teddy_covers. Steve, we talk about Chicago State and Stanford. This one just stood out. We're talking about when Chicago State was playing in non-conference. They closed out non-conference with 6 straight unders. They really, and then when they're playing light competition, they can hang and they can play at their pace. When they're not playing light competition, they're struggling on the offensive end of the floor. Stanford had defensive struggles early in the Pac-12 campaign. The last 3 games, under, all of them under by margin, or at least 2 of the 3 under by margin. You're talking about a game we don't think Chicago State can hang, and we're worried about Stanford's energy level against a non-conference foe. Doesn't this game scream under?
Yeah, both teams play slow. Chicago State plays at 314th. Stanford's in the 200s. But the concern I'd have with the game under, Teddy, is Chicago State's 324th worst defense. What I would like here is a Chicago State team total under. And the reason I mentioned that, and I wouldn't disagree with the game under, but I think the team total is a better play because those 2 big favorite spots with Stanford, they held Oregon State to 46 points, 34% shooting. And that Wisconsin Green Bay game, they held them to 40 points, 26.5% shooting. I don't see Chicago State getting a lot of offense. So I wouldn't disagree with the game under, but I think the Chicago State under would make the most sense.
57.5.
Go, Teddy?
Is the prevailing number. Yeah. The Chicago State under that I'm seeing right now, Bet Rivers is the number up 57.5.
Seems like an under to me. Okay. Steve Merrill, I'm reading all your streaks and runs. You got a promo. You are one impressive cat. Why don't you promote yourself over me? Because I got to tell you, man, you're probably the best self-promoter on this website.
That's fantastic. That kind of defeats the purpose of me promoting now because I'm going to sound like a used car salesman. But I appreciate the compliment, I guess. Now, look, I haven't had an NFL 5% play the entire postseason, and I really like a game this Sunday. It's that simple. It's backed by a systematic angle I use that is 21-0 against the spread and won in the wild card round already. So I highly recommend checking that out. But an even better deal than paying the $35, and Teddy will always say this as well, don't buy single plays, buy subscriptions, is an all sports, all access special right now for $199. Look, 1 month of college basketball alone is $179. 1 month of the NBA is $179. You're getting both NBA and college and the rest of the NFL, including the $35 5% play for just $199. So for $20 more, you're getting the NBA and the rest of the NFL. So you've heard the college hoops. You know I love college hoops. I dominate college hoops. And by the way, college basketball sides since last summer are already up over 117 units over the last 8 months. So basketball is doing pretty well. Get everything for the next month. The rest of the NFL, college and pro hoops, $199. But you've got to have a promo code, all 199, ALL 199, all 199. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Steve Merril, everybody. Dan, let's skip the commercial because we have an Art DiCesare sighting. I'd rather you have him on for that extra couple of minutes. Teddy, are you ready for your big game breakdown?
I am.
Let's go.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk some Big Ten college hoops for tonight. Maryland and Wisconsin. We've seen a fair bit of line movement on this one. It's 4.5, 124 last night. This morning, I'm seeing Maryland pretty much painted -5. The total's been bet up to 125. There's not that much I'm going to do here from a side standpoint. Look, the Badgers have won the last 3 meetings. They've all been tight games. They've all come by 6 points or less. They won and covered with a 5-point win back in December, the first meeting this year. The key stats from that game, Badgers 43% shooting, Terps 38. Wisconsin got to the free throw line 27 times, Maryland only 12. Turnovers 14, Maryland, Wisconsin 8. Nothing that stands out there except for one thing that stands out like a sore thumb. There was only one Wisconsin offensive rebound in that ball game. All the emphasis was on getting back and slowing the game down, and it stayed way under the total. I expect that to carry forward to the second meeting. Look, the Badgers aren't winning on the road. They're 0-3 straight up and against the spread. The last 3 tries, Northwestern, Indiana, Illinois. Admittedly, 2 of the 3 are really elite. But they aren't really covering anywhere. 0-8 against the spread their last 8. The last 2 games have been tight. They've been half-point losses. The markets have kind of caught up with where Wisconsin is. But they haven't gotten to 70 points in 2023. They only got to 65 once. This is an offensively challenged team. There's not anyone on Wisconsin who's going to beat you off the dribble. Maryland is 14-5 to the under. They're 7-1 to the under their last 8. The first game stayed under. And again, they had scramble points at the end of that first game as well. Fouls and threes. Yeah, not a ton, but there was enough of the last 30 seconds were free throws and 3-pointers. It looks like an under to me. We have a little bit of extra value. This total's been bet up this morning. I'm not buying it. First to 50 wins. Maryland, Wisconsin, under 125. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, when Art is around, there is no time to waste. Bring him on. Art DiCesare, everyone. How are you, my friend?
What's up, gentlemen? Pleasure to be here as always.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of my favorite segments of the week, so we love having you on, man. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. Look, most of the time, I just kick back and let Teddy handle this. So, you know what? I'm going to kick back and let Teddy handle this.
Arthur DiCesare from the Westgate Racing Sportsbook, the Superbook right here in Las Vegas. I want to start with a question, Art. James Bunting, one of our fine and loyal listeners, asks, Superbook released their Super Bowl look-ahead lines. Are those based purely on power ratings, or are they influenced by liability in the futures market? I thought it was a good question. What's the answer?
It's a great question. So I saw this question on Twitter because I think I was tagged in it. And I think what James was asking kind of was, well, we had the AFC basically, or the NFC, I think we had favored. So we had the NFC slightly favored. And now if you look at like the reverse, we have the AFC teams favored. And what I was trying to think is, okay, all these look-ahead lines, we were basing a lot of them on maybe the Bills are still around. Well, the Bills aren't around anymore. You know, the Bills basically were like the highest-rated power team in the league. There was a lot of that. And, I mean, they were a 6-point favorite against the Bengals. Listen, we all love Joe Burrow and what they've done, and they keep winning these games, but they were almost a touchdown favorite at home against Cincinnati. So I think a lot of that incorporates Buffalo still being around. Now that Buffalo is out, Mahomes is banged up. I think that kind of goes to why you're seeing the NFC teams be slightly favored in these look-ahead lines. And it's basically one. All these games are -1, depending on what the matchup is, where it was basically AFC favored -1, 1.5 these last couple of weeks.
Art DiCesare. Art, I have a question for you. Wash Redskin, a regular contributor to our chat room, and Wash, we really appreciate it, man. He writes, "The enemy is back." That's something you got to hear a lot of. And I want to speak to you about that for a sec. So firstly, guys, Art gives us his time. He answers every question we ask. He gives us the actual honest answer. Is this just one of those keep your enemies closer, or are you really our friend?
I think the enemy thing is hilarious.
It is.
If that's the role I have to play, I'll play it.
But
nobody's enemy.
But Art, what do you think about that whole concept that these bettors think that the sports book is the enemy?
Listen, I understand. I gamble too, so I get it. I make a bet, I want to win, but I don't look at the sports books I'm betting with that they're the enemy. I'm just making my bets, and I'm moving down the road, and I'll make my bets the next day too. And it's just, I understand we live in this, this world where this is the enemy, and it's us versus them. But I mean, if that's what gets someone through the day or someone through their bets or whatever the case may be, that's fine. It's all good.
And it's a symbiotic relationship. It's not a scenario where, that you can't exist without us, and we have a whole lot of problems getting down without you. So it's not
very true.
Let alone there's no market without you. So, the books need the bettors and the bettors need the bookmakers. Symbiotic, not antagonistic in this bettor's opinion. Lawrence, you want to go more, or should I continue to ask Arthur DiCesare about what's going on when it comes to the championship games this weekend? Now, obviously, NFL's on center stage right now. There's 3 games left in the season. I've been in Vegas since 1998. I don't ever recall a year where the last 4 teams standing in the NFL were basically all priced pick 'em. In terms of the Super Bowl liability, Super Bowl odds right now. Where do you have the 4 teams priced at the Westgate? And can you recall a scenario in which the power rating numbers for the last 4 teams standing were all basically the same, like we're seeing here?
Yeah, it really is incredible. And I read something today, Teddy. I guess the conference championship game started in 1970. And this will be the 3rd time, if the numbers stay this way, where both conference championship games are under a field goal. It just doesn't happen a lot. And I mean, it's wild to think that we basically have 4 teams who are evenly matched. We're not going to get a bad Super Bowl matchup. Like I said, all these Super Bowl look-ahead lines that we have, the game is won no matter what the matchup is for us.
Yeah.
So, it's just, that's the way it's been. And, to kind of break down what we've seen early in these games, I mean, Niners at Eagles, we opened 1.5. It's now 2.5. So, Eagle money's come in. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Totals ticked up a little bit, 45 to 46. I think the Eagle money coming in is no surprise. Brock Purdy's got to go on the road now. The Eagles, basically from weeks 1 through 14 or 15 before Jalen Hurts was injured, were a team that bettors, both public and sharp guys, were betting on. So obviously them, handling the Giants last week, I think it's kind of put people back on the Eagles. And then that Bengal-Chief game is very interesting because we opened the Chiefs -3. We did. We started there. We did. And it was only there for about 45 minutes to an hour. But, when that Chief -3 was out there, the Bengal money came in. It flooded in. We got to basically 1 and a pick pretty quickly. Obviously, we're Cincinnati -1 right now. So it's basically been nothing but Cincinnati money. The Mahomes injury, Cincinnati success against Kansas City has played into that. Bengals always cover. Chiefs never cover. Obviously when a game's basically a pick 'em, you just got to pick the winner. But yeah, it's right now for us, Eagle and Bengal money. So still a lot to be determined here over the next couple of days. But we're going to be rooting for the Niners and Chiefs the way it looks right now.
Talk to me for a minute about Patrick Mahomes, because obviously when you have an injury to a starting quarterback at this stage of the season, it's a little bit of a sweat for you guys because you don't know. We're all assuming Mahomes is going to play, correct? The question is how effective he's going to be. And the markets kind of determine that for you. The markets will tell you what you think or what they think, how effective he's going to be in this matchup. How do you deal with a quarterback injury? A guy, and again, the difference between Mahomes and Chad Henne is as big as the difference between any starter and any backup in the league, maybe bigger. At least a touchdown, isn't it? How do you deal with the QB concerns in a game of this magnitude?
Yeah, there's no doubt, right? You're basically saying Chad Henne, who's been around, good for him. He's been in the NFL 10 plus years, but you're talking about probably the best quarterback in the league. It's just really hard when that's the drop off.
Yeah.
We all assume Mahomes is going to play. Obviously, he's not going to be right. He'll get all the therapy and all the shots he needs to play in this game. And if you saw him last week, he was screaming at his coaching staff like, I'm okay. I'm going in this game. That guy's a warrior. He wants to play. So there's no doubt his mindset. He's going to play. Obviously, if Mahomes is healthy and right, Chiefs are 2.5, probably 3, kind of where the number was open. So, in that type of scenario, that's probably what it is. With him not healthy, obviously, we just have to monitor things day in and day out and stay on top of the news. But, barring something catastrophic, Mahomes is going to play.
Art DiCesare joining us, everybody. You can follow him on Twitter at ArtDice21. Art, couple of quick questions. Number one, Jessica asks, are you allowed to bet at the Westgate or do you have to find another book?
Unfortunately, I cannot bet at the Westgate. I used to work for another sports book, and I bet at the Westgate. Yes, I worked for Caesars, and Westgate was one of my books. And listen, I'll gladly pass up not being able to bet for the Westgate to have a job at the Westgate. There are plenty of other sports books in town. Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of other sports books in town. So, no, unfortunately, I cannot bet at the Westgate.
So,
and
Wayne
that's a good
Ridgell,
thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Just real quick. We want at least one layer between a sports book guy making odds and his ability to bet those odds. The fact you have to bet them somewhere else gives us that one layer. It's just the truth of it. If I ran a book, I wouldn't want my guys betting there. But it's not any admission of any trouble. It just means you put a layer of protection. You got to bet somewhere else.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
So Wayne Ridgell, firstly, Wayne, I haven't seen your name before. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to watch this show. He asks a weird question. I don't think it's answerable because there's not enough info, but he made a Super Bowl wager back in April in Vegas, and it's now been reduced by $300, and he doesn't know why. Is that a thing? What is that? What are you talking about, Wayne?
I've never heard of that. No. Wherever Wayne made his bet, he should reach out to those people.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that's important to note. All right, let me jump in real quick. If you have an issue with the sports book, the thing to do is not go all over Twitter and all these guys. The thing is, you talk to someone and resolve it.
Yeah, they're good people, man, and they're not your enemy.
They're our colleagues.
Teddy, we are only at 90 likes, bro. There might not be a daily presidential address, and I spent like half an hour on the damn thing.
Oh my gosh, a half hour?
Oh, shut up, Teddy. Art, anything you see in hoops tonight that we need to know about?
Yeah, sure. A couple things in college basketball. West Virginia at Texas Tech. Totals come under. There was sharp money, 142 and 141. It's now 139. And then, I heard Steve talk about all these teams. Sometimes some of these weird games take some money. Samford at Furman. Sharps took plus 6.5 and 5.5 with Sanford. It's now 4.5. So some sharp money's coming on Sanford.
And anything
Okay.
for the association stand out this evening, Art? Or if you want, talk about the NHL. Tell us where the smart money is coming in early betting action today on Wednesday. And I know you got to flip around and switch screens to see it from your end of the book. So I'll give you a minute to do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I got one for each. In the NBA, some net money's come in early, plus 6 against the Sixers. It's now 5. And then in hockey, the Canucks with the fresh new coach, even though they're on a back-to-back, they won last night, obviously, against Chicago. Everyone beat Chicago. But Canucks at Kraken, we had Canucks as high as plus 155. It's now gone down 10 cents to plus 145. So some early Canuck action has come in despite the back-to-back.
Art DiCesare, everyone. Thanks, Art. We absolutely love having you on. You are an MVP on this show and a wonderful dude. We did make 100 likes. So let's go, Danielson. All right, guys, we've got a couple of hockey bets to give out. I'm going to be betting all of these games. I actually love this card tonight. Before we get into that, I just want to make mention, one of my strongest, probably the strongest bet that I have in my arsenal is happening tonight. My 4% NHL total run is an insane 29-9. 29-9. I'm 67% on the season in these NHL totals. I'm also on a 7-1 hoops run, a 5-0 college basketball run, and a 29-11 NBA run. Tonight's card for you guys out there, I got that NHL total play, and I got 2 college basketballs and 1 NBA. You can get that all over at WagerTalk.com. As for your bets tonight, I love the under in this New York Islanders-Ottawa game. I absolutely love it. Both of these teams play to the under almost every single night. Ottawa has scored over 1 goal once in the last 5 games. The New York Islanders have scored no more than 2 goals in their last 4 games. This game has got 2-1 written all over it. Take under in the Islanders and Ottawa. I like the under in the Leafs and Rangers game. Again, both teams stone cold unders. Rangers 20-6 to the under. Islanders and the Leafs 21-27 to the under. I expect both teams to be playing to their identity, and that is the under. I like the Dallas Stars as well tonight. And like Art DiCesare mentioned, I like the Vancouver Canucks. Teddy, I forgot to allow Art to promote. It's on me. My bad. You were right to scream and yell at me in Slack. Sorry about that. I got a Montreal smoked meat sandwich waiting for me. Take us home.
Sure. Of course, if you want to visit Arthur DiCesare, you can follow him on Twitter at ArtDice21. And you can check him out at the Westgate Superbook right here in Las Vegas. You can check us out tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east, right here on WagerTalk Today. Between now and then, enjoy the games. Best of luck with your wagers.
The 2023 World Baseball Classic will begin on Wednesday, March 8th, and conclude on Tuesday, March 21st with the championship game in Miami, Florida. And you can bet alongside one of the top international baseball sports bettors on the planet for the entire tournament for only $55. Even better, the first 15 buyers will receive the full $55 back in the form of a coupon toward any future Tokyo branded purchase of $99 or higher. While most handicappers know the USA roster, Brandon knows the world. Brandon was a Major League Baseball scout in Japan for a decade, has lived in Japan for 30 years, and knows international baseball and foreign team rosters better than anyone. Tokyo Brandon's records WagerTalk's #1 all-sports profit leader for 2 years straight and counting. Baseball is his bread and butter. He has picked up 151 units in baseball profit, and since joining WagerTalk, sits in the #1 spot that time in total baseball profit. Get full access to any selections from Brandon on the entire World Baseball Classic, including sides, totals, and any props or futures, and of course, any rare 5% best bets for just $55 using coupon code WBC55 when checking out.